Real Orion, Mask Orion. This is my comfortable, friendly smile. Yeah, that works better. On this video, I'm going to explain what autistic masking actually is. Plus, as we chat about autistic masking, I'll explore the potential benefits and detriments of putting on a mask. Not a mask for the virus, I mean like an autistic mask, a metaphorical mask. Hey, I'm Orion Kelly, that autistic guy. I was diagnosed autistic later in life, and since my diagnosis, I've devoted my time to advocating for the autistic community. And I do that through my blogs, podcasts, and these YouTube videos. And my goal in mind is to work hard at raising that level of understanding, appreciation, and acceptance of the autistic community. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in learning more about, well, I would be absolutely delighted if you would consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. By simply hitting that subscribe button and ringing the notifications bell, you're not only checking out my videos, but you can share them with the world and help me reach more people on my goal of raising that level of understanding and acceptance of autistic people. And look at it like this, it's completely free. It's a no-cost way of showing support for me and my content. And if you ask me, it's priceless. It's worth more than all the money in the world just by clicking that subscribe button and sharing my videos. And a big shout out to the community that have been with me from, well, if not the start, from before this video. Thank you for watching, thank you for sharing, and thank you for taking the time to subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you want to join my community, find me on the socials as well. You can find me on Facebook by simply following the Orion Kelly page on Facebook. You can also say hey to me on Instagram. Check out me. Wait, did I say check out me? Check out my Instagram page. I'm on Twitter as well. Yep, Orion Kelly on Twitter for my tweets. And if you'd like to check out more of my videos, but kind of short form videos, you can have a look at my shorts on the YouTube channel, but also follow me on TikTok. Check out my videos on my TikTok page. And if you get the chance, you should check out my website, orionkelly.com.au. On my website, you will find everything. All the blogs, links to all the podcasts, Intensely Inquisitive, My Friend Autism, A Different Brilliant, plus my YouTube channel, details on me. And please take the opportunity to reach out and say, hey, go to the website, orionkelly.com.au. Okay, so let's start with what is autistic masking? Autistic masking is basically the act of hiding, camouflaging, suppressing your true autistic self, your true autistic behavior, your true inner essence. It's kind of like when you go out in the real world, what's happening inside you has to remain secret. There's challenges with autistic masking, but basically we're in essence just trying to suppress our true autistic selves from the real world experiencing it or seeing it, right? So it's basically hiding, camouflaging our true selves. And autistic masking really covers anything that makes us autistic. Okay, so clearly masking would incorporate hiding, suppressing autistic traits, features. But also autistic masking can be something as simple as suppressing the want to stim. Stimming can come across to neurotypical people, non-autistic people, as a repetitive behavior. They may even find it annoying or awkward. Okay, so suppressing those repetitive behaviors, stimming, that's another form of autistic masking. Being in conversations and forcing ourselves not, trying to stop ourselves from talking about our special interest, our passion, because in a conversation, a lot of times the only input we can have to the level where neurotypical people are happy with us is when we talk about our special interests, as in we can contribute more than one-word answers to something. But we've learned along the way, you really have to suppress that want or desire to blurt out or rant on or talk about your special interest or passion, because it's a trait of an autistic person that neurotypical people can find annoying. Autistic masking can also be simply imitating neurotypical people and neurotypical behavior, right? We're just trying to be chameleons. We're just trying to do what you do, act how you act, talk like you talk, as a way of fitting in, pretending to fit into a conversation or a group, right? Pretending we're following with what you're saying and we are somehow part of it and we can contribute. And this we're just internally, it's not the case. We've got 1,000 questions, but again, another annoying trait for neurotypical people. So in essence, autistic masking is doing just about everything to suppress anything that is our true, genuine, authentic, unique selves from the outside world, to fit in, to be accepted. And of course, that never happens anyway. So why do we do it? Good question, me. Why do we mask? I'll tell you. To fit in. Next, autistic people mask to fit in, to come across normal, neurotypical. This isn't rocket science. And we've talked about, when we define what is autistic masking, we've talked about things like suppressing behavior, forcing yourself to make eye contact, or suppressing repetitive behavior like stimming. All the things we've talked about with what is autistic masking, which is basically just camouflaging, hiding, suppressing everything about you that's you. The reason why we do it is not because it's fun or we want to. It's not something we choose to do. It's something we're pretty much born to do. We're taught to do from early in life, from parents. And it's not intentional for the most part, from parents, from teachers, from friends, from family. But it is what it is. If you are born autistic, you're going to stick out, right? You're going to stand out. You're not going to be like neurotypical kids. There's going to be things you do that people say aren't normal. You can't act like that. You can't behave like that. I mean, it's very early on in life you're taught. Wow, I mean, I keep getting really bad feedback on everything about me. Can you imagine every day of your life? Really bad feedback on everything about me. Really, I don't know if anyone likes anything about me. So I better be someone else. If I can't be me, who can I be? I don't know. I'll be like that guy. Everyone has a threshold that they can handle, and you're going to pass that threshold at some point. Doesn't mean these people are bad. It just means that it's a signal we're constantly being sent. You better mask. Why? Well, because do you want to fit in? Do you want to be liked? Do you want to be part of the herd? We've chatted about masking simply to fit in, simply to not stand out or not be judged or ostracized or looked down upon by neurotypical people. Well, one of the main benefits, in addition to simply fitting in, one of the main benefits of autistic masking is to find and maintain friendships and relationships. This is a big one. It's not uncommon for an autistic person, this would be my opinion absolutely as an autistic person, that, but for masking, but for suppressing my genuine, true, instinctual autistic self, I wouldn't find friends. I certainly wouldn't make friends, and I absolutely would not maintain them. It's hard to make friends if people automatically from the start think there's something just awkward and weird about you, right? And then if you do make friends, eventually, inevitably, you're going to be autistic one day because you can't mask forever. And therefore, you're going to probably lose some friends. Not for anything you've done that's wrong, you've just been yourself, but it wasn't something that they were expecting or prepared for. And again, you set yourself up to fail, but people can say, well, then don't. But we set ourselves up to fail because in our minds, it's almost an impossible mission to find, make, and maintain friends and relationships if we don't mask in the first place. It's a vicious cycle. Take dating, for example, right? Now, if you're taught by the neurotypical world how to date, how to act on a date, how the dating world works, the game playing, the mind games and all these kind of stupid dating rules. And anyway, if you're taught all that, and then as a result, because you want to date people, that's how you date, that's how you present yourself on a date. And let's say you and the person you're dating go into a relationship. What happens when the person you're dating is exposed to your real unique self? Now, it's not like they're exposed to a monster or anything. They're just exposed to someone they didn't expect or know. Because as an autistic person, sure, you can hide and camouflage and suppress and mask your autistic self as much as you want, but eventually you are not going to be able to do it. At one point or another, an autistic person is going to be autistic. The idea, and I hope this sinks in, the idea that an autistic person has to pick and choose when they can be themselves. Someone who has a diagnosed developmental disability has to choose when they can be themselves. Right? It's a pick and choose thing. It's not an all the time thing. And it's looked on as a bad thing to be yourself. So you don't. And then when you do, because you can't not be yourself all the time, it blows up in your face. An example of this whole dating and teaching autistic people how to act on dates in a neurotypical world, it comes from the show Love on the Spectrum. Whether it's season 1, definitely, or in through season 2, something I always noticed is the use of the relationship coach. Now, this isn't anything personal about the relationship coach. I don't even know their background. I don't know if they're autistic or not autistic. In the end, it doesn't really matter because I'm not speaking on behalf of the actual relationship coach or the person. I'm speaking on behalf of what's happening. So on Love on the Spectrum, you have a relationship coach come in and teach autistic castmates how to act on a date. Now, a lot of times that's because we assume, and it's true, that most autistic people maybe don't exactly know what is required on dates. Okay, the type of, I guess, small talk which we clearly aren't a part of, don't understand, don't want to be a part of, can't get and don't do very well in as being autistic. That's social developmental disability part of our autistic brain. So we're taught the things that you should do on a date. Okay, so we're taught how to not be ourselves. In essence, you've got a relationship coach teaching autistic people how to not be themselves, how to mask on dates. So that's the example of the world teaching us. But what I find even more perplexing is on the Love on the Spectrum show, the majority of dates the autistic people went on were with people who were autistic. Sure, some might have been neurotypical, some may have had other disabilities. But the idea that we would, on an international show, get a coach to teach autistic people how to act not autistic on a date when they're dating other autistic people is beyond ridiculous. And again, this is why an autistic person that doesn't mask doesn't exist. Society tells us you better mask, you better hide your true self or you're out, champ. So whether it's dating or friendship, no autistic person can mask forever, can mask constantly, right? So you're going to lose friends. You're going to lose relationships if that particular friend or partner is simply not accepting of your true autistic self. It's going to happen because you can mask to get friends and relationships, but you can't mask all the time and forever. It's not possible. So there's a benefit to it, but you can also see the detriment to it. The mental and physical and emotional drain that would have on someone day in, day out. The other core benefit of masking that I want to talk about before we move on to the detriments, the impacts that masking has, is masking to find and maintain employment. Masking to get jobs, even job interviews. Masking to keep jobs when you get them, given that autistic people are disproportionately unemployed or struggle to find gainful employment. The idea that you would mask to find employment, to keep it, is universal. And it's a given fact you just have to deal with as an autistic person. You're a member of a minority, right? You're a member of a disabled minority. I don't care what you want to call it, disability or disorder or whatever. I don't think disorder is the right word. Anyway, it's a disability because it's a developmental disability. So the fact is, as a member of a disabled minority, we can't expect the world to be full of employment opportunities for autistic people in autistic environments. Bottom line is, masking as an autistic person to come across as appropriate and the right fit for a job in an organization of a neurotypical world is something you've pretty much got to do, right? I mean, this is just factual. If you want to walk into a job interview and just be your true, authentic autistic self, I would have thought 9 out of 10 times, 9.5 out of 10 times, it's not going to go well. You're probably being interviewed by a neurotypical person for a neurotypical role in a neurotypical employment, and we all live in a neurotypical world. It's not easy for autistic people to get a job interview, let alone get a job, let alone keep the job. And don't get me started on HR policies designed for neurotypical people, but making autistic people raise to that level or bar at a level that is not possible for an autistic brain. So clearly it's a benefit, right? If you want to get a job, well, you better hide that autistic stuff. Yeah, you better suppress that, camouflage that, mask that away, suppress, stop, just look normal, come across normal, get a job. Right, now, get the job is actually not even the case. Get a job interview. That's the first thing. I find I get a lot of second job interviews. What I mean is, when you put in for an application and you have an interview, and it might be a group interview or whatever, and then you eventually get asked for a second interview. Not everyone does, but I've been asked in for quite a few second interviews. I don't believe I've ever made it past a second interview. I must have masked really well in the initial interview, and then the second interview, one-on-one, I can't tell you, but there must have been something about me that wasn't right. And you can say it's non-autistic things, but if that's the fact, then how did I get the first interview to the second interview? So it's a benefit, but it's also a detriment. The problem still is once you get a job, you aren't allowed to be autistic. We definitely touched on some of the detrimental effects, some of the impacts of masking when we do it for what is a perceived benefit. I mean, even talking about the benefits of masking, I couldn't help but think and talk about how the benefits can also be detriments. But anyway, let's now break down the core detriments, the impact autistic masking has on an autistic person. The long-term effects, the long-term impact on an autistic person from masking, hiding, camouflaging their true, authentic, autistic selves, quite simply, is profound. It's significant. It's worryingly serious. First up, it's an identity crisis. If you mask for long enough, and I'm one of these people, you forget who you are. Maybe you were diagnosed or are getting a diagnosis later in life as an adult, and you don't realize why you've done what you've done all your life. But now you know you've basically been masking your true self to fit in, and because your family have told you you can't behave like that, or teachers, whatever. Okay, you do that for long enough, it becomes you. It's your identity. And then when you have a diagnosis, you realize, hang on, who am I? I don't know who I am. This can't be me because I'm blocking the things that are me. And then people start to say, once you were diagnosed, you became so much more autistic. You're like, well, no, I mean, I get what you're saying. That's obviously rubbish. I mean, you're born autistic, you die autistic, you can't acquire it, you can't catch it. It doesn't strengthen or weaken. It is what it is. You're born and you die. And in between, you're autistic, full stop. So you can't be more autistic once you're diagnosed. What happens is you realize, okay, I'm not broken. I'm not a bad person. I'm different. I have a neurological developmental disability, an autistic brain. I've been suppressing that and hiding that to fit in, to act normal. Now I guess I don't need to anymore because I've been diagnosed as autistic. But then people start saying, oh, your diagnosis is just an excuse to act like this. Like, yeah, that's right. I've got a neurological developmental disability as an excuse of behaving in ways where I don't know if it's me or a fake me. And regardless of how I act, getting a negative perception back from anyone in the world. Yeah. It's an excuse to be ostracized every day of my life. Another main detriment of autistic masking is what you expect it to be. And we've talked about it, we've hinted at it. The physical, mental, and emotional strain on an autistic person from simply masking constantly or for years, or even a child going to school. You know how when a child goes to school and for the most part, the teachers will say they had a great day. I don't know what you're talking about. He's a really great kid or whatever. Well, okay, that's because they've been masking all day, mate. But once they get in the car or come home, it's like my Coke bottle video, right? You take the lid off. So whether you're a child or an adult, either way, you'll see the effects. I see the effects daily of masking, right? There are physical, mental, and emotional effects. They are real and they can be significant. And for some people, for some autistic children, teenagers, adults, whatever they may be, this exhaustion can lead to mental health issues, mental health illnesses. This isn't a joke. It has significant impacts on the presentation of comorbidities like anxiety or depression. Simply from being told you must be someone who isn't you every day. Something I'm also riddled with is a complete lack of self-worth. You can mask your entire life and still not be accepted or understood, right? So you think, well, hang on, if I just be myself, what's the difference? If I have to be different to who I am most days, and people still get angry if and upset that I would dare be my true autistic self and make them feel awkward or uncomfortable, what's my point? Why am I here? What am I providing? There's no worth. It's unsustainable. You can't continually mask every day all your life. It's not something that you can physically and mentally sustain. No one on the planet would ever wake up and say, you know what, today, I'm going to drain myself of all energy and will to live by pretending to be someone who's not me in the hope that people will like me, but they won't anyway. And yeah, you know what? I might do that for the rest of my life. Autistic masking is done for you guys, for non-autistic people. We don't mask for ourselves. That's ridiculous. We do it to fit in, to be accepted, and it doesn't work. There's benefits to it, but even the benefits turn into detriments and impacts that are lifelong. You could just accept us for being different, for being who we are, but that's not going to happen, is it? Having little to no choice but to hide, to camouflage your true self from the world can be an extraordinarily draining thing, but the impacts can be far deeper than that, as we've discussed. So hopefully you've learned a little bit more about what autistic masking is and also why we do it and the impacts it can have on us. And thank you so much for watching this video. I'd appreciate it if you'd share the video with your family and friends so we can reach more people, and consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. Until my next video, thank you so much for watching, and we'll talk soon.